watchers, welcome back to the channel. Today I have this piece courtesy of Audaz Watches. Pretty well balanced actually, spins pretty well on the table. Audaz Watches, a little bit about them. It's actually first I've heard of when they reached out to me. Apparently established in 2016 with the goal of providing professional specification dive watches with unique style and high quality standards. You'll find that they actually do have some Submariner homages, so not completely unique, but this one is actually their own design as far as I can tell. So let's just open up this package and show you, and I'll just point out that this is a pretty nice tough travel case, which I quite like. You know, as you guys know, when they give practical packaging, you know, that you can use as a travel pouch if you want to keep using it, rather than a box that you have to just store away. Okay, so in here, just a lot of foam packing here, and that's the watch itself. Underneath, I'll just put it aside and point out to you, there's a spare links, and I removed quite a lot of links to fit my wrist. It's a big watch. It does come with this rubber strap, which you know, it's pretty good quality. I haven't tried it on, and you know, I probably won't because I don't have a preference for rubber. I really like to keep it on the bracelet, but this is actually pretty good feeling. What I assume is silicone rubber there. And then in here, there's a warranty card and a one sheet manual. Just let you guys have a look at that. I you know, pretty much have never read a three-hander watch manual. Can't remember the last time I read one, not since I started the channel, I think. Let me know if you ever read manuals for three-hander watches. So let's just show you the watch closely. So guys, this is the orange dial Audaz Reef Diver Automatic, and the number is ADZ-2040 09. So 09 is the color variation for the orange. Of course, it comes in kind of the basic colors of black and blue, but also some interesting kind of bezel variations as well as dial variations, including some camouflage and whatnot. I'll try to put some screenshots of what else is available on the site. All right, guys, so let's just open this up and you know, just loosen that and talk about the movement in here. So the movement, guys, is none other than you guessed it, the Seiko NH35A. So all the stats down the side, if you probably know a lot of these off by heart if you follow Horology channels. The quick set date in this case is on a black bordered window at the 3 o'clock position. You can see there. So there's black writing on the white disc. And then the rated accuracy, I'll just point it out on the left of screen, in actual use is +6 seconds per day, which is pretty good. You know, actually it's pretty well regulated in the week plus that I've used it. That's what it's averaging. Okay, let's talk about the case then. Of course, the case is actually 45 millimeters. Now they've actually stated 45. Now, if you manage to measure just the case, so you know that edge there, that rounded edge to another edge here, right? So about there, that would actually come out at 45, but the bezel is slightly larger. You can see it pops out above the edge of the case. So the bezel, if you measure that, is actually 46 millimeters using calipers. That's what it comes up with. So it you know, on the face, it's larger than 45. The thickness is pretty substantial. It's 15.5 millimeters thick there to the top of the glass at the top, and 24 millimeters is the lug width, and the lug to lug distance, which also is pretty darn substantial. Between my thumbs, it's a full 53 millimeters. And just to point out, on the side of the case, there is an automatic helium escape valve mechanism there. Overall weight, because this is a hefty steel case with a pretty substantial bracelet, is heavy, right? It's a 216 gram watch, and you saw I took out 4 or 5 links in the package there. So it'll be even more heavy if you have a larger wrist than mine. Okay, finishing wise, the bezel is fully polished, right? It does have this, of course, this grip on the edge here, but the bezel finishing is polished. It moves on to longitudinal brushing on the top surface of the lugs there, and it's also longitudinal on the side of the case. But there is a very subtle chamfered edge here, which is polished. You can see there's a bit of a step there, and hopefully you can appreciate on the camera that it's actually a polished finishing between that edge there. So that's a pretty nice thing that they've gone for. It's not easy to do that. So the case craft is pretty good here. The bottom of the case, if you can appreciate that, is of course circular brush, right? Bottom of the lugs, as well as most of that case back is circular brushing. And I'll just let you rest your eyes on that case back there where it says Reef Diver in relief, and that pretty nicely engraved vintage dive helmet. I quite like looking at that. It's very nicely done, I must say. So kudos to them for achieving a pretty nice case back. So that's a screw-in solid case back. The crown itself is also pretty substantial, right? There's a signage on the crown there. Right? You can hopefully appreciate that with a screw-in crown and a very thick, I think that's black PVD steel. I'm not 100% sure. It's certainly not rubber. So that screw-in crown, the water rating they've gone for here is 300 meters. Of course, it wouldn't be any less than that if you put in the helium escape valve mechanism. Otherwise, that's just going to be a bit of a joke. It's got to be at least 300 meters, and that's what this is. Okay, so let's just move on to talking about the dial now. The dial here is matte orange, right? And it's got applied black PVD steel indices, or I'm assuming it's steel, but it's definitely applied black bordered indices filled with lume on the 12 positions and shortened at the 3 o'clock window, and that you can see there. That does have that chapter ring around the dial, right, on the flange, and the flange is indented. Hopefully you can appreciate on these macro shots that there are indentations where the indices sit into the flange there. Hands-wise, it's black PVD, I guess just sword style or sword-like hands, and it's got superluminova on all the usual spots, right? All the 3 hands, including the arrowhead tip of the seconds, and 12 indices, as well as the bezel lume pip. And I'll put a shot here, of course, for you guys to appreciate how it looks like in the dark. It's a pretty good application, I have to say. It does definitely last all night long when it's charged. Okay, so on top or surrounding the dial is the bezel, which is 120 click unidirectional dive style with an aluminium insert. And this one is a matte finish with pretty nice contrast printing there. It does have minute markings just in the first 15 minutes, but the rest of it is 5-minute divisions. Now let's just let you hear how it sounds. 10. Okay, so 20, so 120 clicks, right? Not too loud. It's pretty nice, actually, I must say, the sound. It's very positive, very, pretty decently fitted. Slight back play, not too much, very slight back play there. But, I certainly find that fairly tolerable. Okay, so back to the 12 o'clock position there. All right, so that's 120 click. Dive bezel, and on top of that is a flat sapphire. So they've gone for flat sapphire glass or crystal with anti-reflective coating. All right, that's the description of the case. Moving on to the bracelet. Now the bracelet H-link. Okay, that's really what this is. So longitudinal brushing on the H's, and then it's got polished on the center links that you can see there. It does, of course, have solid end links. You've seen that when you look at the case back there. And it does have push pins for the bracelet adjustment. It doesn't have screws. Pretty solid arms. Okay, the deployant arms there, but pressed metal for the clasp body. There's no push metal here. It's just a friction clasp with a friction keeper here for position micro adjust. Right, so that's just what it is. And with the bracelet, the good thing about bracelets is that I can just snap it on very quickly for the wrist shot to show you guys. So here we go, the Audaz Reef Diver, the Audacious Reef Diver with 53 millimeter lug to lug distance, as you can see there on my 17 centimeter wrist. It really is, in good sense, too large for me. 15.5 millimeters thickness there, right? A watch that really is, by fashion sense, too large for me. It's okay, I think, in very casual situations. Certainly if you're going to go to do some sports or water sports, swimming, diving, it's probably all right. But I think in any more formal situation, this is just too large, at least for me, and probably for most people. But if you have a substantially larger wrist, I think you could carry this all right. Okay, so there we go. Just to mention the pricing, the MSRP or the asking price is 420 USD. It does seem that they do have frequent discounts. As I checked the website just now, they did have some roulette where you can potentially get 20 or 30% off straight up. So 30% off would be roughly 300 USD. Okay, guys, so, let's talk about what I liked about this. Look, I think this package offers a relatively original look, a very, very solidly built dive watch with reasonably quality, reasonably good quality execution, I have to say. Now, I really like the case. I think it's pretty well done with the finishing, the transitions they've gone for. It's pretty sharp, as well as, that case back, which is very pretty. It's pretty good looking, well done case back with that engraving there. And the bracelet is pretty nice. It's solid. It's very substantial, yet it's also still comfortable. And if you look at the price as 300 USD, with the typical discount that you might be able to get, I think it offers pretty compelling value, for all the features that they are giving. The concerns or the points for consideration, if you're going to seriously consider this, at the full MSRP, 420 USD, with the lack of a ceramic bezel, lack of screw links, and a clasp which is pretty weak. I think the value proposition is weaker, and those differences may prove critical in your decision making. And definitely the sizing is massive and over the top, so it precludes versatility. I think it definitely precludes wider range appeal. So you have to have a more substantial risk to carry this off, and certainly it's too big for me. There's not a watch that I normally would get for myself. And lastly, I will mention, anytime a company does clasps that are disproportionately poor like this, I'm going to call it out. So this clasp is just not great. Why? By this time, if you're going to get a Chinese OEM clasp, I'm sure you can get a better, more machine style than this one. Yet a lot of companies still go for this style of clasp. You got a case here which is so thick and heavy that you can hurt someone seriously if you were inclined to do so. Yet on the other end, you have a clasp and keeper that a child could potentially bend with their bare hands. It just doesn't quite match up, and I thought I'd point that out more in more detail. So guys, there we go, my review of the Audaz Reef Diver. Let me know what you think about this. If you have any experiences with the company, we'd love to hear your thoughts, because this is the first I have personally heard of them. And guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. New content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys next time.